Welcome back, college football fans, to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. I'm your usual host, Blair Parks. And for those of you who've been with me before, welcome back. For those of you, if this is your first time here on the channel, welcome. And I gotta warn you early that today's episode, I am completely shooting from the hip. This episode is spur of the moment, completely unplanned. I kind of threw it all together in about 10 minutes because I've got to pose this question to you. And I also have to get this off my chest, all right? And the question that I'm giving to you, my fellow college football brothers, sisters, fanatics, and especially to Big Red and Cornhusker Nation, is the title of this episode: Is Nebraska currently a blue blood program? All right. And what's bringing this on? This is in response to the game that transpired over the weekend of week 4, the Big Ten opener. Michigan visits Memorial Stadium at Lincoln. Ultimately, Michigan wins 30-27 is the final score. Michigan definitely just made the bigger plays. They just out-executed Nebraska. So it was a competitive game, and Michigan is and was the better team. But the thing is that since, now we have another loss for Matt Rule and the Nebraska program, to where you're hearing more of the fallout. All right, there's been a lot of talking back, hollering back from Nebraska fans who were expecting this to be a huge game, and it was a big game. All right, and I get it. Nebraska fans put a lot into this game, all right, to where now that it's another one-score loss, it seems like the bottom's falling out. Some people are calling for Matt Rule's job. They're questioning, did we make the right hire? What do we need to do to get back? Blah, 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 blah. But I'll kind of go ahead and further piggyback on that. So this is what I am responding to from everything that I've seen, that I've read, that I've heard, because I want to hear from you. And if, please, like I always do, I always encourage, welcome, and ask for your feedback. In today's episode, it is vital that I hear from you. So please get involved. Light up those comments below. I promise I will get back to each and every one of you much sooner than later. But today I want to create and really have some good banter going. I want to hear arguments for those who believe Nebraska still is and those who believe Nebraska is currently not a blue blood. So I want to hear from all of you, especially from you Nebraska fans, all right? But all you college football fans are welcome to get involved in the conversation. And one thing I do want to say is, please, yes, I do expect a little bit of hate comments from Big Red Nation, okay? Yes, obviously, I root for one of your Big Ten opponents, one of your rivals. But seriously, I am not trolling in any way or throwing shade at the Nebraska program or its fans. I am not. I've got to get this off my chest, and I want to hear from you what your opinion is. So if you are going to make a comment below, please refrain from the usual, you're a turd, or you're pathetic, you don't know what you're talking about. Cancel your show, don't quit your day job, because those are just statements, okay? That's not anything that's going to get a conversation going, and it's definitely you not presenting your case or your opinion, okay? That's what I want, all right? And when you make those such statements, all right, all you're doing is just embarrassing your fellow fan base, all right? And I know that most of you are much better than that, okay? So here's the thing, all right? Before I give you what my answer is to that question, I've said this plenty of times before on this channel in years past. The Nebraska fans, they are some of and one of the most loyal, passionate, devoted, and best fan bases in all of college football. They are. So once again, this is nothing personal, okay? I've always admired just the sheer audacity and the level of fandom of Nebraska fans. All right. It's something that really you should live up, something that you should just own and just work with that, because it is. All right. This is nothing personal. And I'm not trying to once again compare Iowa to Nebraska, because there is no comparison. You have a great history. Iowa, yeah, we have a little bit of a history. One national title, one Heisman Trophy winner. So yeah, a little bit better of a history than some, but obviously not all. All right, so once again, this is not me putting salt in a wound. Just please understand that. All right, but this is what I'm going to say. All right, so my answer to that question, that currently, absolutely not. Nebraska is not a blue blood program. All right, you're just not. All right. And before you are quick to jump to conclusions, just hear me out. I'm going to go ahead and make my case for why I am against what a lot of you believe, that you still walk around and truly believe your program is a blue blood. All right, just hear me out. All right, so currently within our conference, the Big Ten, to me, we only have 4 blue bloods currently: Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and USC. That's it. Okay? All right, that's the only blue bloods that we have in our conference. All right? So to me, you're probably thinking, well, Blair, you're asking the question, what is it? What makes a blue blood to you? Okay, and I'm going to also kind of ask those questions back as well. Okay? So is it the number of national titles? Okay? So if it is, okay, I guess you make a good point, because here's the history. All right? Nebraska has 5 national championships. That's a great number. That's more than most, the vast majority, okay? Their last national title came in 1997, so we are approaching the 30-year mark. So basically 3 decades since that last national championship, all right? So it's been quite a while. But for some of you who basically think a blue blood is based on the number of national titles, well, think about this. Within the Big Ten, I don't see any Minnesota fans pumping up their chests, walking around, claiming to be a blue blood. And maybe they should if your reasoning is based on the number of national titles, because guess what? Minnesota has 6 national titles. Granted, their last one was in 1960, but they're not calling themselves a blue blood. So I don't buy that argument that national titles, the number that you have, automatically, or qualify you to be a blue blood status. I don't buy it. All right. Especially when you look at the recency. I mean, 30 years is a long, long time ago. All right. That's before a lot of you watching were even born in 1997. All right. So I don't buy national titles. All right. And the Minnesota analogy, that's a good one. All right. You can't argue that. All right. So if you look at the winningest programs in that college football history, Nebraska is in the top 10. All right. But so is Yale. Yale actually is right ahead of you, I believe. And they have 18 national championships. You don't see Yale fans calling themselves a blue blood. And right behind you, I believe, is Harvard, the Crimson. They have 12 national championships, all right? So national titles don't make you a blue blood. They don't. Doesn't qualify, all right? So to me, Nebraska is absolutely a historic program. There is no doubt about that. I'll be the first to go ahead and sign that petition. But blue blood, based on just natty titles, sorry, I don't buy it, all right? Now, another thing is consistency, okay? All right, so to me is, hey, what is the outcome of the majority of your seasons? And to me, that comes down to bowl berths, okay? And, hey, your participation in postseason play. Last year, Nebraska did get to a bowl game under second-year coach Matt Rule, but you know what? That was their first bowl game since 2016, an 8-year drought. I mean, do you realize in 2016, the president of the United States was Barack Obama? So before last year, that was the last time they even were in the postseason play during the Obama administration. Okay? A blue blood, yes. Do they basically get to the national championship game every year? Do you have to do that to qualify? Absolutely not. And blue bloods do go through the occasional rebuilding season, but still, they end up tallying 8-9 wins. That's still something to be proud of, okay? But you can't go bowlless for 8 years and think that you're a blue blood. You can't. 1 year in that span, okay. Sometimes things happen. You miss on some recruits for a class. Sometimes there can be a lot of attrition, injuries, transfers. Dudes just don't pan out. That happens. But 8 years without going to a bowl game, that does absolutely not qualify you as a blue blood. I don't care how good you once were. You're not there, okay? You're just not, all right? So the consistency there also leads me to saying, no, you are not a blue blood, okay? Now, on-field success, okay, kind of going along with consistency. I mean, as I said, it was a good game. It was a competitive game on Saturday with that 30-27 loss. But Nebraska fans, you already know this number, okay? That with that loss to a ranked Michigan team, you have now lost 28 straight games against ranked opponents. Blue Bloods don't have that sort of a losing streak against the upper echelon competition. They don't. And quite frankly, the Iowa number is not that far behind. We've lost 10 straight against ranked opponents. So once again, I'm not trying to make it worse on you. I'm not hollering back, all right? I'm just being truthful with you. These are stats and numbers which they don't lie, okay? So there's been lack of consistency, lack of on-field success, okay, during the last decade, if not maybe even since the turn of the century. Okay, going back that far, all right? So the reality is for Nebraska fans, I hate to say this, but this is what you're doing, okay? This is not all of you, but I think the majority of you, all right, is right now you are suffocating and choking out your own program because your expectations are so unrealistic, all right? You're going to end up running another coach out of town. Now, granted, the two previous coaches in Scott Frost and Mike Riley, yes, good riddance, all right? But before that, Bo Pelini, who was winning 9 games a year, you ran him out of town for not getting you to the promised land. It wasn't good enough, all right? Yeah, maybe you might have hired or fired him because he was a hothead, which he was, but that wasn't the reason. You weren't happy with the lack of overall success. Matt Rule is the good coach, but the way that you're just, you can't get out of your own way, Nebraska fans. You can't. You have to just come to grasp. The reality is you have now fallen to the rank of a developmental program just like Iowa. That's where you are. 8-9 wins a year is kind of where you are. And I think right now, based on the schedule, you have a great opportunity to get to 8-9 wins still this season. I mean, I could easily see you guys knock off my Hawkeyes on Black Friday in Lincoln. I definitely can, all right? I didn't pick that preseason, but hey, I think Nebraska could very easily win that game against Iowa, all right? But right now, you need to just pump the brakes and just come to terms with who you are and definitely who you are not, okay? Because you are not doing yourselves and your program any favors, okay? And it's not really all you. I also think the media is fueling some of this as well. I remember watching a game several years ago during the Frost era. I forget what year, but it was a walk-off field goal against Northwestern, and it may have been Frost's second year, where the majority of the media picked Nebraska to win the West. I mean, come on. They weren't anywhere near that. They weren't ready for those expectations and ready to be labeled as, oh, they're going to win. Nebraska's back. But I remember this walk-off field goal, and I forget who the announcer was, but then Nebraska, they're celebrating midfield, which they should. It was a big win over a solid, decent Northwestern squad. But when the announcer says, oh, the Big Ten West goes through Lincoln, it totally doesn't. Okay? It didn't then, and it doesn't now. All right? So it's not all your fault. The media definitely wants you back. They definitely are kind of inflating who you are and who they want you to be. All right? And I've said this before. All right? That when Nebraska is relevant, it is better for college football. All right? And I want that. Okay? But right now, you are not a blue blood. Okay? So right now, and I will say this. All right? Iowa right now is a better program. I hate saying that. I'm not trying to bash anybody, but look, the last 10 years, the last decade, all right, we've won more games. We have a better record. We've consistently made the postseason, and we have consistently defeated you guys. We haven't won every matchup against Nebraska, but it's been a one-sided rivalry, if you can even call it that, all right? Right now, Iowa is a better program. We just are, all right? So Nebraska fans, I'm sorry. You just need to work on step by step getting back to where you want to be, but you cannot rush it, okay? Keep it in perspective, all right? So work on that, but also in the meantime, work on your academic standing. I mean, you're the only institution in the Big Ten that's not a member of the AAU, the American Association of Universities, all right? Get that back. You were once upon a time when you first joined the conference. Work on that as well. Jeez, all right? So if you're not willing to agree with my assessment and my opinion and the facts that I presented you, that's okay. You have that right. Because as fans, we always want more. I get that, but it's kind of really hard to argue with those facts, okay? That you are not who you believe you want to be or who you once were. You're not, okay? And quite frankly, if you can't or won't accept that, it's really based on three things. Either you're a complete Homer Simpson, you live in your own little glass house, or simply you're just ignorant. And I can't help you with those three things. I can't, all right? So please get involved, comment below, like, share, rate, subscribe. I can't wait to hear from you, especially Big Red Nation and all you college football fans. I'll be back later this week for my Week 5 preview and picks episode. So until then, be safe, be responsible. I'll talk to you soon on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. See ya. Bye-bye.